What's up, y'all?
What's going on, player?
Listen here, brother. So you want to talk about some astro gear today? Yeah. Hey, what's happening, everybody? Dano here again. Today I'm just going to go over some of my gear I have. Some of the stuff I started out with as a beginner and then worked my way up to a star tracker. And then just recently, I've had this thing for about a year now. The Skywatcher Star Adventure GTI. I've gone over and looked at Facebook Marketplace, eBay, Amazon, and I've looked up some of this stuff and gotten used prices and new prices, and I'm going to kind of go over each setup and price it out. And if you're just looking to get into astrophotography, hopefully this will give you some ideas about a budget range and get you started on any budget. I don't know about y'all, but these grocery prices have been killing me since this inflation just went through the roof. And I don't know if you can tell, but I like to eat. I'm going to talk about astrophotography on a budget, and I've got 3 different setups here, and they're in 3 different budget ranges. And I'm also going to go over the newly released smart telescopes, one by Dwarf Labs and the other by ZWO, and where they fall in this category. Just going to go over each setup and what it's capable of doing. There's all kinds of different astrophotography. So you want to get into astrophotography? Yeah. You can get a DSLR and a wide-angle lens and a tripod, and you can take pictures like this of the Milky Way. Yeah. Or you can get a star tracker and a 50mm lens, and you can take pictures of constellations. Yeah. Or you can take some cool pictures with a setup like this for a good bit more money. Oh, yeah. I'm going to talk about the different kinds of astrophotography. Like this landscape shot I've got back here. That's a panorama I took, I think, with this camera and that lens. And I just stitched, I think it was like 7 frames together and did a Milky Way panorama. You know, if you have no gear whatsoever and you want to get into this, you can get some used gear. Something like this is really going to be your cheapest entry point. Would be nightscape, Milky Way landscape, stuff like that. That's going to be the cheapest route to go. This is my very first setup. This is my first DSLR, my Canon EOS 6D. They have a newer model, which is the 6D Mark II, but it's more expensive. I've done a lot of cool nightscapes with this. A lot of them just single exposure. This sensor is well known for its low light capability. And when I first started out, I didn't know how to stack pictures or anything, so I would just do single exposures. And with this setup, the Canon EOS 6D, full frame sensor, a Rokinon 14mm f2.8. So this is a very wide field of view. The Milky Way is going to be pretty tiny with this, but you can take longer exposures, usually up to 30 seconds, I believe. I try to keep it to about 25 to alleviate the star trails in the corners. You can crop in and not, lose too much resolution. So I priced this out. I'm looked on eBay. The cheapest one I found is $350, and average is going to be about $450 to $500. So for a used Canon 6D, $300 to $500. And then the Rokinon 14mm used, I saw this for $150. That's the cheapest I saw. And then the cheapest new I saw was $200. And then you'll want a tripod, and you don't have to get this exact tripod. Any tripod will do. You just want it to be nice and sturdy so it doesn't move. This is a Neewer intervalometer that you'll hook up, and that way you don't have to actually touch the camera. You can take the pictures with this and it won't shake the camera. This is $30 on Amazon. And this tripod is a slick, I think it's a DX700, and it's just the legs. It doesn't come with the ball head. So the ball head will be a little extra. I forgot to add that in there. So you're probably looking at $650 to $850, ranging on how cheap you can find some of this stuff. But it's under $1,000. You can take Milky Way pictures, cool night shot, like nightscape, landscape stuff. The caveat to this is you're really not going to be able to do this from the city. You're going to have to drive out of town. You're going to have to spend some gas money, have a car, get out of town, get out of the city, get away from the light pollution to really benefit from this stuff. I've taken some cool nightscapes, but not really for the stars, but just night shots basically, and it's great for that too. So you don't technically have to get out of town to use this thing for what it's capable of. But if you're wanting to do night sky stuff like that, you really need to get out of the light pollution with such a wide angle lens and no filter. If you don't have any camera, anything, and you're starting from scratch, something like this is probably going to run you $600 to $900. So under $1,000 to start with. You could also shave a little bit more money off of just getting a full frame sensor like this 6D to getting a crop sensor like this Canon T5i. The cheapest one I saw used was $209. So that's going to be a little over $100 less than this 6D. And you can still take 15-second exposures with this wide angle lens. And it'll also, you'll get a little tighter shot of the Milky Way. I have some in portrait mode with a crop sensor and this lens, but same deal on a tripod. One more option, and to shave off on the lens side of things, you could get this Canon Nifty 50. I've seen these anywhere from $50 used to $125 new. You could throw this on this full frame sensor and take pictures of the Milky Way and Orion, static shots with no tracker, but you would have to manually move it, and then you could stack those if you wanted to go that route. So that's an option as well. A 50mm lens instead of this Rokinon with the full frame sensor. Okay, now on to setup number 2. This is a star tracker. I moved from a tripod to this little thing right here. This is the Ioptron Skyguider Pro on Amazon. It's about $400. Skywatcher has a Skywatcher Star Adventure Pro Pack. I think it's the 2i, same price, $399. So either one of those, they're the same price. These are good, but they have some limitations. So there is a guide port on here if you wanted to get into guiding with this thing, but I never use it. To keep this from, me wanting to pull my hair out and get frustrated with it, I usually just run something like this setup right here, 50mm lens and a crop sensor. And I can get nice images of the constellation of Orion, a little bit zoomed in on the Milky Way, stuff like that. Whichever one you prefer, either the Skywatcher Star Adventure 2i or this one, because they're both the same price and they're both, pretty decent star trackers. So just this Pro Pack, and that's going to include counterweight and a bar. Now I've got some extras on here. You don't have to have this stuff. This is a William Optics dovetail. The base I upgraded from the plastic one, and then this is also an extension on the counterweight bar. But you don't have to have that. What comes with it is fine. this is just a nice improvement over what came with my Sky Guider. Just the Star Tracker, either one is gonna run you about 400 bucks. And once again, I have another slick tripod, and I just screw the William Optics base on there. And I like these tripods because they're so wide and they're really high. And when I'm polar aligning this thing, I don't have to get on my knees to polar align. I can just kind of stoop down a little bit and polar align, and it's just I like it. It's easy. So these tripods are 92 bucks right now on Amazon. I think I paid about 100 when I bought mine. So it's a great tripod. So you can pick it up on sale. So, all right. The next thing I have on this rig is the Canon T5i. This is an old camera. I actually had this modified at Life Pixel, and I think total, and this is a few years ago I bought it, it's probably about 700, 750 bucks. But you can get this, and you don't have to have it modified. It'll work fine. The cheapest price I saw used, and all these are going to be used mostly. I mean, these things are pretty old. $209. I think it was on Facebook, and $300. So $200 to $300 for this older Canon T5i. Now, if you wanted something newer, you get like I've got a T7i, and it's a little bit better. It seems like it's a little cleaner, the noise. So you can look at those and price those out. I'm sure those are a little bit cheaper now because I think they've got a T8i out now. So, but I'm just pricing, what I'm using. The Canon 50 millimeter lens, you can find them used on eBay, probably 50, 75 bucks. Brand new, they're like 120, 125. Awesome lens, awesome lens for astrophotography. That's going to save you some money right there. You can get some great images with that. And then once again, $30 intervalometer, so you can set it up. And I've got some Velcro here on the back of this, and I put some Velcro on the legs, and I can just stick that on the legs, and it'll just stay there. And I can set my exposures and let it do its thing. This setup right here with the Star Tracker, a used Canon T5i, a Canon Nifty 50, and the intervalometer and the tripod, I've got down 781 to 942. So you're still under $1,000, and you can now track the stars so you can take longer exposures. I usually do 1 to 2 minutes, and I usually don't have any throwaways if I've got a good polar alignment. I've done up to 3 minutes on this thing with a longer focal length, but you may have some throwaway subs where the stars are trailing. But I'll just keep it nice and simple with this setup, and I'm going to go into some comparisons with this one and this one. But so right here, 622 to 822 for landscape, night sky. And you can also throw this same rig on here and take longer exposures of the Milky Way. So you can do like 1 minute exposures of the Milky Way instead of 20 seconds or whatever with just a tripod. So this can be used for wide angle, wide field stuff, and also landscape. So it's, that's cool. It has multi uses. And so with both of these rigs, you're under $1,000, and that's really going to be the cheapest entry point, to get you ready to roll, taking pictures of the night sky. That's under $1,000, either one of these. Because when you step up to this thing, plus a dedicated, rig like this with a dedicated camera, I'm running a focuser, I've got a guide scope, I've got the ASIR Plus. The price is going to jump up considerably from this rig to this rig, but it's because of all this shiny red stuff. Really, I mean, that's what it is. It's all this pretty shiny red stuff right here is what's going to make the cost jump up so much. I started with this thing, and I still use it. $400, I still think it's a good buy. Especially, if you really need to stretch your dollars and you can't afford because this just the head on this one I found on Amazon. It's on sale for $618, I think. Let me see. Yeah, $618 for just the head. Now, if you've got the money for this one, and it's $200 more, I would recommend this one. They have the same payload capacity, 11 pounds, but with this one you can grow. It has go-to, and you can really use a guide scope on this one. I never fool with the guide scope, and I'm sure you can, but it's only tracking on one axis. Okay, I gotta take a breath. I'm fat, not a shape. And now, so on to the final setup here, the Skywatcher Star Adventure GTI. So I've had this one for about a year now. I had some issues with backlash, and it's because I was carrying it out with the clutches tightened, and I was, probably turning it sideways and stuff. And it's just not good to do that because it puts a lot of pressure on the gears and stuff, I guess. So I've got some videos going over how I fixed that, and I put some tape in the RA adjustment screw on the side and also on the interior, and it's helped. I've not had that issue since. So, and I forgot to put this in my final cost with this rig right here, with this cool camera, with this focuser, the air guide camera, and the mount. You have to have a power source, and I have this little Watt Fun battery. It's $200, and I can run this rig. I can probably run this rig for about 8 to 10 hours. With my bigger rig, I've gotten about 7 hours, which is pretty good. But if you have an extension cord or something you're running out to power your stuff with, you can take that off the budget. But I'll add it in here anyways. One of the perks about this thing is I'm carrying this with me on flights. It's tiny. You charge it up, and it holds a charge for a pretty long time. So there's no power source required. Same deal with the batteries in the DSLR. You charge those up, and you get a night's worth or whatever out of it. So, but when you step into something like this right here, you're going to need a power source, and this is what I use. But if you have an extension cable running to something to power everything, then that'll work too. But as far as traveling goes, I would probably still take this in my carry-on. So that is a plus for the smaller star trackers. This one is also, you can put batteries in this as well. But if I was going to use this camera and travel with it, you still need a power source to power all the stuff right here. You can power the mount on like 8 AA batteries or whatever, but you still need a power source for this. So back to this rig, you don't have to start out with something like this scope right here. You could use something like this on here, and then you can build your way up. You can get a guide set up later. You can get an ASI Air Plus to run it with, but you can start off using the native app, the Skywatcher app. I think it's the SynScan Pro. I tried it when I first got it. I used to use that app with my Skywatcher EQ6R Pro. That's how I started out using it, same way. No guide, nothing. And so it's doable. So now I'm going to get into pricing this rig out. Now, this one's going to be a huge step up in price compared to these two. But, like I said before, you can run a simple DSLR and a 50mm lens on something like this and use that until you can save up enough money to start building out a rig like this. So just the head, just saw it on Amazon, is $618. And I think that's a little lower than what I pay. I think it was $640 when I bought it. So it's $20 off right now. They have a set that it comes with the tripod. That one is $740 if you wanted to go that route. But I just use it on either one of these, or this actually came with my Skyguider Pro. They don't sell this one anymore. I looked for that kit, but they don't sell it. $619 for the head, $740 for the head and the tripod. Moving on to this setup right here. I have the William Optics Nightcat. This was a OPT special edition. OPT has since gone out of business since I bought this telescope, but it's just got the blue um, lens cap and the dovetail bar. But it's the same scope as the Red Cat that you normally see as red. So I looked up the Red Cat 51. It's $865. You might be able to find them used on cloudy nights or something for a little cheaper, but 800 range, somewhere in there, just for the telescope. You don't have to have a dedicated camera, but I made the switch about a year and a half ago. I think it was, yeah, a year and a half ago. And I've kind of really, I don't use my DSLRs nearly as much as I used to since I made the switch, because I get better images because I can maintain the temperature on here, and it's just these cameras are made for what I'm doing. Now, it's not to knock these. I mean, you can still get great pictures with these DSLRs, but you can't cool the sensor. I mean, they make kits, but I didn't want to do all that. I mean, you could run like a DSLR on this kit right here, but and save a few dollars. But right now they have this ZWO ASI 533. It has a little 1-inch square sensor. It's on sale for the rest of this month of December for ZWO's Black Friday sale. It's $719. So about the same price as a newer DSLR. With this mount, you can get a guide set up. And all this shiny red stuff is on sale right now for this month. The camera's on sale, a focuser's on sale, the guide scope and the guide cam are on sale, and then the ASIR Plus is on sale. I'm not going to, price all this stuff out, and I didn't even throw the dew heaters in. That's probably another $60 plus the adapter, 70. So pretty much, a setup like this is gonna get you north of about $3,000. So you can see how, jumping up from something simple like this to a more dedicated, setup with a dedicated cam and a guide system, a focuser. It's the price is going to go up significantly, because here we're under $1,000. Here we're under 1,000, and then here we get over 3,000. So, but you can build all this stuff up. I didn't buy this all at one time. I built it up over months and years. So when I first started making my first video was actually about this GTI last year. I had a dual dovetail finder, and it was all my stuff was sitting real high, and I was having balancing issues. I've since bought a Pro Astro gear. I think it's called the Black Cat mounting bracket, and it's just like a 3D printed piece of plastic, and all this stuff it sits lower on the scope, and I'm not had any balancing issues with this thing at all. So I mean, you can see uh, yeah, it's fine. Without rambling too much on about this stuff, uh, you can you can easily start spending a lot of money in this hobby. This one will get you great, results. It's going to be really wide, but you can use bigger lenses than that. I used a 400 millimeter lens. I got 3-minute exposures, but it's tough to do. You don't want to knock it out of polar alignment and stuff like that, because you're not guiding. So you'll probably have a lot of throwaway subs. But to simplify this setup, I use a nice wide lens like this 50 millimeter lens, and pretty much every sub is a keeper unless there's like an airplane flying through it or something. Either one of these is fine. If you're on a really tight budget and you want to get something just to get started, this is definitely a little cheaper to go this route. But this one's going to have go-to. You're going to be able to guide with it in both axes, and you can build this one up over time. You can add all this stuff later on. So I would still probably recommend the Skywatcher Star Adventure GTI over a Star Tracker. But this thing does have its perks as well. It fits in my carry-on with everything. So, and if I go on another trip, I'll probably take that over all this stuff because, I mean, I got to power this rig right here. So, throwing the battery in with this, you get up to $2,700 to $3,000, $3,200, depending on what you get. So these are going to be your more traditional routes. This is the gear that I got started with. I started with this, and then I moved to this, and then I moved to a bigger mount, and then I got this one, and then I got another mount, and it just keeps going and going. But there's some new kids in town. Smart telescopes. Now, there's something completely brand new that wasn't on the market when I got started, and I acquired all this gear. Now we've got two smart telescopes for around $500. You've got the Dwarf 2 from Dwarf Labs. It was under 500 on Black Friday. I think I saw it for 476. And then you got the ZWO C-Star S50, I think it is, for $499, so $500. I just looked up the Dwarf again on Amazon. It's back up to $595. So uh, both of those options are cheaper than anything back here, and they're automated. Um, you don't need a track and mount. It's going to track for you. It's everything's built in. So if you're starting from scratch and you've got no cameras, no lenses, no tripods or anything, honestly, the smart telescopes are going to be your cheapest route into this hobby. Now, when they first were announced, a lot of astrophotographers, probably purists, are scoffing.
Oh, it's a stupid little toy. Oh, how dare they? Oh, God, that's not really astrophotography.
It's an entry level way into this expensive hobby, and this hobby is expensive. Um, I play music. Well, I used to play music. I saw a tiger, now I'm roasting. I saw a tiger, that was so mad. And I thought music was expensive until I got into photography. And this, I mean, everything has levels to it. You can buy, top of the line gear. You can get a little cheap crap, and it just depends on what your budget is. The C-Star, it's got like I think it's the IMX 462 camera, so it's a small sensor camera, and on a basically the same focal length as this telescope right here, 250 millimeters. But with that small sensor, it's going to be pretty zoomed in on deep sky objects. I think the moon fits nicely into the field of view, and so does the sun. You can do solar with it with the filter. I mean, I've looked at both. I've watched videos on both. And, I haven't gotten one. I was going to get one to review. I bought so much other stuff. I'm about to go on another spending hiatus because I've bought too much crap. So, but yeah, if you're starting from scratch, you see these pictures on online, Instagram, Facebook, or whatever. You're like, man, I want to do that. Right now, the cheapest way into this hobby is going to be one of those smart telescopes in the $500 range, and it's going to have everything you need. You're not going to need to polar line it. You just walk outside, you set it down, you level it, and then you run it with an app. And it's kind of with the C-Star, the ZWO. I'm assuming the interface is kind of like with the ASIR, so it's very intuitive interface and easy to operate. I've watched a little bit on the Dwarf, and there are some other ones that are more expensive, but I think those two are the cheapest. 500 and for the C-Star and 600 for the Dwarf Lab Dwarf 2. So, yeah, this if you want to go the traditional route, uh, any of these options are fine. But if you just want to get something for under $1,000, you walk outside, you set it up, and you let it do its thing, and If you've got no gear, absolutely, no gear whatsoever, it's the cheapest way into this hobby. Now, my thinking is on this, and this doesn't really go with Dwarf Labs because they don't sell gear, all this fancy shiny red stuff like ZWO does. But when they first announced it, my thinking was, well, I know what they're doing. ZWO's baiting a hook, and they're going to cast it out, and they're going to slowly reel it in. And because if you get one of those smart telescopes, and you're it's going to be one of two things. You're either going to say, oh, this is cool, and then it goes in the corner and you don't ever use it again, or you're going to get hooked like most of us do in this hobby, and you're going to want to progress to something like this. And I kind of think that's, it's kind of a just real man, real man. So, but is there anything wrong with that? No, no, it's not. And I actually would like to get one and try it out. And I may in the future. I don't know, but I bought so much stuff these past few months. I've got to take a break from spending. One thing I didn't include, like DC cables and stuff like that. You can get like a 4-pack of these DC cables for $10. Uh, there's a couple other things I may not have thrown in. Oh, filters. I've got a filter in here. They vary from 150 to $400, whatever. This side, when you get really deep into this, can get very expensive, but you can go out, and I actually had a lot more fun using this thing right here. Get in my car, going out and trying to find some cool old house or something, and line it up with the Milky Way. And I really, since I got into deep sky, I mostly just set this stuff up out in the front yard, and I rarely do any of that stuff. So I'd like to get back into that and start, getting out there and getting out of town and go, chase some cool shots again. You can build your way up from that, and then get into something like this. Or, if money is no issue, you can just jump into the top of the line gear. But if you are, if every dollar counts and you really don't have a lot of money to spend, but you want to get it in this hobby, I think the smart telescopes are a great entryway. They're a great entry point. They've priced it at, I mean, it's cheaper than any setup up here, $500 and $600. And this is used stuff, and that's brand new. Now, in all of this, I didn't, there's free software for editing photos. You can use GIMP, Deep Sky Stacker, to stack images. A lot of these images you're going to see coming out with these smart telescopes they're already experienced astrophotographers, and they're going to, they know how to process images, and they know what they're doing. I'm guessing the dwarf, I don't know a lot about it, but I watched more on the Sea Star than the dwarf. But the Sea Star actually live stacks, so you can see it. Your target gets brighter and brighter and gets more detail as you go because it's live stacking. But you can actually take the images off of it and take it into a stacking software, and you can stack it, and then you can take it into something like Cyril or Photoshop or whatever, or GIMP. It's free, and you can edit it. And if you can really make those images look good. But for a beginner, I mean, that really doesn't matter. You can probably pull it straight out on your phone and just do a little, some tweaks on your phone. You can probably just, I don't know if Lightroom Mobile is free. There's an app called Snapseed. I started out using that, and I got Lightroom Mobile. It may have been free. I can't remember though. But there's all kind of apps you can edit with, even the phone. And you can do some nightscape stuff with the smartphone. Like I'm filming with my iPhone, but an iPhone is $1,000. The smart telescopes are 500 and 600. So those are the cheapest path into this hobby to get you started. So I just wanted to go over that. And if I get one down the road, I'd like to try it out and see, because I could see where it would come in handy. Say there's like, I get home from work and there's like a break in the clouds for an hour or something. that thing will be super easy to just go outside and set up and then get an hour's worth of pictures, and then that's it. Pick it up and bring it inside. You're done. Uh, when you get to this level of Star Tracker or the Skywatcher Star Adventure GTI, you have to polar align and you have to level. Polar align, and balance. And you know that's I can set both of these up fairly quick. I mean, you know, once you do it over and over, you get faster. But as far as just carrying those little smart telescopes out and setting it out, and you know, set it up, level it, and then get going, that's pretty cool to me. And one more thing I'll say is that, you know, none of that stuff was out. You know, it's all new when I, you know, started in this hobby and built my way up through this gear. But you know, this is just the first generation of these things. I think they'll get better. I know they'll get better. And so it's interesting to see where they're going to go with these smart telescopes and how far they can take them. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I just, you know, I try to cover everything, every budget. This is an expensive hobby. The smart telescopes ranging from 500 to 600 are definitely the cheapest because everything is included. You've already got the cameras built in. I think I think the Sea Star even has filters too. So I mean, it's ready to go out of the box. But you know, if you want to go the more traditional route, it's going to cost a little more money. This is more hands-on, um, and I don't know. I mean, I'll have to see. I know some people are getting like lots and lots of hours with the Sea Star. I've seen a few videos of that. You can probably get some high quality images with it, but you know, like I said, you're gonna these people are experienced already and they know how to process. So, but if it's anything like what I got with this Star Tracker, I got a 30-second shot of Orion, and it just blew my socks off. I was like, "Holy crap! I can't believe I just took that." And so I imagine you're going to get the same feeling when you take that thing out and set it up, and it's going to be way cheaper than this rig right here. If you're starting from scratch, you've got no gear whatsoever. Um, look into those smart telescopes. I think it's a nice entry level point. It'll get you started, and you can learn how to process those images. No matter which way you go, the more traditional route like this or the new advanced smart telescope route, which is actually cheaper than any of these. Uh, it's all about having fun, and it's all about, you know, what's going to get you out there under the night sky taking pictures. So yeah, that's astrophotography on any budget, uh, plus the not shown here smart telescopes. And thanks for watching, and clear skies.